Isafal, yo salam alayjil. Tayori Gambian, no wana.
Yai buraman chire, why buraman chire, yai kuwe dise.
Mayra jamalai, yai mayra nayonai, jame danyi salibo, yai jame boy sabai, yes na boy sayai, yai buraman chire. Why buraman chire, jame kuwe dise.
Yo lai la buraman chire, why buraman chire, yai kuwe dise.
La Musa Jimbinjai, yo madarai sabai, sena very patalai, ewa salum bay, why is a jawarai, why buraman chire, mam kuwe dise.
Yo buraman chire, why buraman chire, yai kuwe dise.
Manda dayonai, ibata dayonai, la, ibata dayonai, ya buraman chire, ya kuwe dise.
Buraman chire, why buraman chire, ya kuwe dise.
Wow, tay mom ñom sali nak day xala tardé rek waye réewi Gambie ni ma leen ko def fara du baxé rek bëggoon na ñu gëna dal di def bam baax ñu balu won tay yeen aha ndax wax na leen at bu jot rek fokk ñu bëggé leen ndax yeen dafa am fo leen tollu ci ñun ba nga xamné ni fokk rek ñu dal di dem bëjé waye suñu déwé nati li na du ci ñaka mukk ndax bëgg nañ sa yu nekk di leen bëggal ndax suñu Gambia Radio and Television Services askan bi ñun ñoy bëti réew mi té ñun ñoy noppi réew mi dafa dañ ci am wala yeen ngeen am ci wala ba tax na yeen sali ma ngi leen naan déwé nati leen di leen ñaanal yenn suñu jàmm ji nga xam ne ni moom lañ seexa yàlla yàggal ko xam naa ne du fi am dinañ dal di defaat yeneen yu neex su ko defee yéen tamit ngeen dal di ñëw ñu dal di def rek fii la rek fii ci Gambia Radio and Television Services la waa faaye ko ba tax na nag di gërëm ñi nga xam ne ñëpp ñoo nekkoon fii ñu ne na wateef bi egsi na ci ndong li sari bëggoon nañ ngeen gën a dal di def bemba waaye di bëggee ki nga xam ne mooy Modou Koor fàttewuma si ki nga xam ne ñooy Mama Jee ñëpp musóor gi nag moo pare sànnee ko waaye nag du tere rek maa ngi leen di bëggee bu baax a baax yéen ñi nga xam ne yéen ak ñoo seetaan ba pare na di leen ñaanal fan ak wér technicien yi yëpp ñoom Ibrahima Sala laayoo ki nga xam ne mooy Sala Sabirin waaye Mama Jee dama bëgg a sali ñu ñaanal ko yàlla may ko jëkkër jigéen ci moom ba nga xam ne ñu ni tamit DRTS dinañ ko dem fekki dal di defa moom rek bem baax waaye nag di bëggee ñi nga xam ne ñoo nekk master control room di ñaanal DRTS ñëpp jaama inshallah na du fi am dañ ne Tabaski la rek su ko defee rek ñu dal di def bem jee yéen a war a lool lii yëpp waaye nag dinañ ñëwaat dal di defaat yeneen yu ne fii ci Gambia Radio and Television Services la seen xarit la woon Maam Jeng Sali jërë ngeen jëf.
Lay dëgg Maam Jeng.
Good evening, viewers, and welcome again to Discovering Truth. And I am Pastor Forbes of Abiding Ministries. We have successfully finished our 10-part series that was quite long, 2.5 months, on the life of Jonah, and where we looked about all the kinds of things that can happen to us in life, the most important being that we should obey what God tells us to obey. Another one being that we should remember that we stand before God at the end of our life's journey in eternity, and nobody can help us when we stand before God. We looked at many different instances in Jonah's life which we felt could relate to our personal lives in the 21st century. So we've put that series to a rest, and in terms of speaking, but trusting that the lessons we learn live with us in our journey of discovering the truth of life for us, especially as released to us through God in Jesus Christ. There's a scripture I want to look at, and I'll just speak concerning it because it relates to a lot of things that are going on in my life, in my heart, because in a little under 3 weeks, Abiding Word Ministries will be celebrating 25 years. And all the people that I've spoken to in country and out of this country feel like it's too short. Are you sure it's 25 years? I said, yes, it's 25 years. Are you really sure? I said, it's 25 years from 1988 to now. it's 25 years, and a lot goes on in your mind when you think about that, because it's a Silver Jubilee celebration. I am also very close to my own Golden Jubilee, and it's amazing how life can go on maybe unobserved, sometimes celebrated, sometimes in mountaintop and valley situations. But the key thing is what you choose to view life from, the lens, the perspective, the worldview, the angle you look at it from. I know people who probably look at life from a very positive angle, so everything is an opportunity, every challenge is an opportunity, every setback they rise up. I always remember seeing these stickers on cars in West Africa, particularly in Nigeria. You'll see a sticker that says, the downfall of a man is not the end of his life, or the downfall of a woman is not the end of her life, and you laugh at it, but that's so much truth in it, because there is a scripture correlating to that in the book of Micah, where it says, rejoice not over me, my enemy, for if I fall, I shall rise again. If I'm down, God shall pick me up. And then there are other people who look at life from the opposite of positive, from a negative. Everything that comes their way is bad, is negative, is evil. And sometimes with people like that, even while you try to encourage them that it's not as bad as you think, it's not as evil as you think, this is not the end of the road, it's not the last bus stop, life is not over, they find it difficult to just view life from another angle. So what is positive looks negative to them, what is negative looks terribly negative to them, and they just live life through that. 1 year becomes 5 years, 5 years become a decade, and a decade becomes 2 decades, and they look back and wonder, what have I done? We are immensely grateful to God as a church in Abiding Word Ministries, and come November 7th to the 10th, we are celebrating our 25th anniversary in our usual Abiding Word way, in a grand style, and we are glad to be bringing a very globally known Christian worship praise singer known as Alvin Slaughter, coming to just celebrate with us and be the main guest physically of what we do. But as all those things go through my mind, and anybody who plans events like that can imagine the level of planning, the pressure of the planning in so many spheres of planning. But you look back and you ask yourself, has it really been 25 years? Yes. Some people say, well, you don't look it. You don't look old. Well, thank God if that is true. And some people, I've had people tell me that's not possible. A friend of mine in South Africa said to me, that means I last saw you 15 years ago. I said yes, because he was opportune to be one of 3 preachers who graced our 10th anniversary in 2003. And so he said, I last saw you 15 years ago or thereabout. And I said, yep, that's true. And so in life, whether we move or we do not move, life moves. And life tends to move us. Situations tend to move us. Events tend to move us, whether they are global events, continental events, sub-regional events, national events, family events, just environmental events, or events that we create by our activity or inactivity, by our deliberate engineering of the future of our lives, or by just being inactive and just allowing life to drift us. Whatever happens, time would go on. As you've probably heard me say on this program, sometimes when you want to encourage people to go to school again or to take a course, especially people who are married, particularly married women, you know, they're married now with 2 kids, 3 kids, 4 kids, and, you know, they talk to you and they say, Pastor Forbes, you know, one of my dreams was to do an MBA. And then you tell them that, why don't you go and do it? Oh, well, you know, I have 4 children. If I go and do an MBA, I'm now 34. By the time I finish, maybe I'll be 37, you know. And we are quick to tell them that, you know, you're 34 now. Whether you do an MBA or you do not do an MBA, in 3 years' time, you will be 37. So why don't you let those 3 years count in proactivity, in productivity, in something that you can hold and maybe leverage for a better life quality? And so as I speak from my heart. We are grateful as a church, and everybody's invited. It's a free program from the 7th to the 10th of November, 7 p.m. each evening and 6 p.m. on the Sunday the 10th at our place there in Bakau. And we are grateful. 25 years. And when I think of it, there's so much we can be grateful for. If I start listing the things, I wouldn't end. If I start listing the names of people, I wouldn't end, because we've crossed 2 republics, First Republic, Second Republic, and we are grateful to everybody from our nurturing baby stage to now that by the grace of God, we are what we are locally and globally also. There are 2 things running up and down in my mind. One of them is the fact that life does not give you what you cry for, what you beg for, and just what you desire for, what you wish for. Because a lot of people can sit and they dream. They just sit and maybe put their hands on their chin and just imagine, if I had 10 million, if I was a rich woman, if I was a rich man, if I was this color, if I was that gender, if I was born in this nation, if I had this visa, and if I had property down the beach and sea and all that. And there is a part of that that's good, because it's good to dream. But you also have to come to reality and then look for steps, sometimes bite-sized steps, that would lead your dream into its actualization. The joy that I have in my heart about it is that knowing God and placing your life in God's hands and accepting the salvation plan of God through the Lord Jesus Christ opens vistas of life for you, because then you have God who is practically, personally involved in your life. So you just don't read his counsel as a literature piece, but when he says, I will instruct you in the way that you should go, I will counsel you with my eye, and I will teach you my precepts, you know that he's really going to do that. When he says, I will order your steps, you know he's going to do that. When he says that the afflictions, the problems of the righteous person are plenty, but I will deliver him and her from them all, it's true. And with that guidance, you are able to come into like a sharpened point life living. You are able to be more proactive, be more vision oriented, action result oriented, because there is a mandate running through your heart. You look at environments around you, you look at people, you look at situations. Some may be positive, some may not have started, some may be on the journey to being accomplished. But when you look at it all, you look back at yourself and say, this is what I was born to do. Recently, I was speaking my heart to the church, because October is our last church month, so I tend to just speak freely. And one of the things I spoke about, I will speak about tonight to you. I asked the church the question, why is it that in a very big aeroplane, an aircraft, let's say a 747, a 757, a 767, an Airbus 320, 319, the 747, the A380, why is it that some of these planes that have maybe 350 seats, 250 seats, 400 seats, they only have about 12, 16 in business class or first class, and the rest of all the 300 seats are in a class called economy. Some people call it coach, some airlines call it world class. Whatever name you go by, you know that it's that class where you are a passenger, but you are not treated with the kind of care and comfort that the people in business class or first class enjoy. And having had the privilege to fly on all those classes in different aircraft, I can tell you that first class and business class is to be preferred any day, anytime, anywhere. And just by the name, business class or first class. And the other one is called economy or coach. And so sometimes, you know it if you've traveled, when it comes to feeding, you're probably given 2 options, you know, chicken or beef, pasta or fish, and then they'll come on there and say, well, they apologize if your special choice is not available on today's flight. But that's to the people in the economy section. The people in business class and first class have exactly what they want, and they have extra additions added to it. Now, somebody may quickly say, well, that's a division of people, those who have and those who have not. The choice really is yours. And I am looking at life from that angle. Do you want to live your life in economy, or do you want to live your life in first class? Sometimes you can work for a company and occasionally they give you the courtesy of flying first class. It doesn't happen all the time, except you are either at an executive level or you are paying for it or something. But those who are at that level, and then by virtue of the kinds of perks that airlines come with, you are a silver medallion, gold medallion, platinum, you know, it comes with so many other things. You can check in free, you can be picked by a limousine from your home, you know, your baggage has priority tagging, you can, when you land, you can go to a special line to check in, you go into a special lounge, you can have breakfast, lunch or dinner depending on when you arrive, you can have a free massage and all kinds of things. It's nice, but yet it's not the exclusive preserve of a few people, because I don't think anybody was born flying economy and business class. You work into it like anything else. Nobody was born with a master's degree. Nobody was born with a bachelor's, with a PhD, with an MBA. You move into it, and chances are everybody starts moving together. You know, from nursery, preschool, kindergarten, onto primary or grade school or whatever it's called, and then you go into middle school, and then we get into a point where somehow we begin to divide. And it's not so much the academic curricula, it's not so much the structuring of life as it is how much determination, how much focus, how much intentionality you want to put into your life to make sure that you will fly in the business and first class cabin of life and not in the economy cabin, because there are all kinds of excuses. Unfortunately, in this side of the world, in our continent, if you were flying in economy and the plane was delayed or the flight was cancelled, rest assured that they are not going to give you any special treatment. Maybe after a lot of noise at the airport by some die-hard passengers, you may get some drink or something. You know, in some airlines, you don't even see the managers, everybody vanishes. But if you're a first class passenger, if you're a business class passenger, the treatment is different. And so if you travel in economy, you always hear this phrase when they start announcing the pre-boarding and the boarding. They normally say, well, people with children who need help, children under 5 and all that. And then somewhere you'll always hear, if you listen carefully, especially transcontinental flights, you'll hear this phrase that business class and first class passengers can check in at their leisure. The plane is not going to leave them behind. They are not queuing. I remember being on one of those airlines in one of those classes, and I was playing a game on my iPad, and the lady said to me, Reverend Forbes, you're not eating your breakfast. And I looked up, I said, she knows my name. Now, because in that class, maybe there are 12 of us, so a special treatment. But in the economy class of 300 people, they're not going to know all the names of 300 people. And as funny as that may sound, the question is, in life, which class do you want to fly? Which class do you want to sit in? I made a statement also as I spoke to our church that recently in a religious organization, the head of the organization announced that they were going to build a very huge edifice, very, very huge. And everybody screamed, and he said he wants that edifice ready in a year's time at their next annual program, and everybody screamed. And then he made a statement, and he said, if you're one of the 10 people who are going to contribute, and he called a very huge figure, then see my secretary. And of course, the clapping died down because the amount he called makes your stomach rumble. And automatically, there was a separation. Because, ladies and gentlemen, the truth about life is that if the Republic of the Gambia wanted to build this magnificent TV studios with all these cameras we see here, with the OB van and everything that makes it work digitally and satellite. And we wanted to build it nationally by every Gambian contributing $5 C, $2 C, $1 C, and the children doing a sponsored work and Bob a job. By the time we finish building the studio, all the equipment will be obsolete. But to build this, there's a level of finances, there's an amount of money that must come into being to do it. And much as little drops of water make a mighty ocean, the drops take a very long time for the ocean to come. So sometimes you need an avalanche supply. And those are the issues of life. And so because we live in a technological age and everybody can respond to what they don't like or they like, in this case of this religious organization, people started writing, well, so if we don't have this amount, we can't see this man's secretary, well, our money doesn't matter. The truth is that to build what that religious leader said had to be built in 12 months, you cannot be building it by $2 C, $5 C, $1 C, $10 C. And rather than complain, the issue is to look back and say, what steps can I take? What things can I put in place in my life that can move me from a $10 C person to a $100 C person, from a $100 C person to a $500 C person? For example, you can work in an organization for 30 years, 40 years and retire, and chances are you'll be promoted very slowly. And depending on the salary scale and the scheme structure C, maybe every year you are promoted by $45 C, $100 C. Now, if you compress that time and say, well, I'm going to take 4 years to go to college, even without salary, and you may think that, well, my friends are making money, they are enjoying, they are being promoted, but when you come back with that qualification, because of the information, because of the training, because of the deposit in your heart and your life, based on the organogram and the scheme of operation of that company, you start at a level that is higher. It's like the military. At least the little I understand, I remember, I think if you have a degree, you probably start at second lieutenant or so. Automatically you are a commissioned officer. You don't start at private, lance corporal, corporal, W1, W2, staff sergeant. I mean, that tends to take a long time depending on how many people are ahead of you and how many batches are ahead of you, because promotion is in batches, except you do something extraordinarily nationalistic and then maybe they yank you up, you know, 2 or 3 steps and they pin you with pips and you celebrate. So if you look at it, sometimes the line, the queue is long. So the level of your determination and my determination to say, well, I want to upgrade from economy to business class. I don't want to be at the handle of this pen. I want to be at the writing point. I don't want to be at the handle of the knife. I want to be at the tip of the knife, the tip of the sword, the tip of the letter opener, the drawing pin tip, because all these tips are always sharp, pointed, defined, precise, and when they speak, you know. If I had a little pin here and I pricked you, you would jump. If I use the head of the pin, you know, you may not react, but that point speaks volumes. And so we are looking back at 25 years at our church and thinking, wow, we may not necessarily be where we wanted to be, but we are far away from where we started. And we are not just national, by the way. Our impact is global. I mean, just even this program is watched globally, courtesy of GRTS and our nation. And so we look back, and I'm looking back, I'm thinking that thank God for 25 years, thank God for our Silver Jubilee, thank God we are alive. There's another 25 more ahead of us if God spares our life. But I don't look back in regret, and in life we must not. And even though we take stock and we say, I could have been better here, I could have done this, I could have been sharper here, I could have passed this exam here, I could have read more, I could have been nicer to that man, I could be nice to this woman, the way I left this company, I should have, you know, exited properly and not caused any trauma in my exit. You can always look back and say, next lap I will be better, because in God's goodness and His mercy, He would always give you a second, a third, and a fourth chance. You know, people tell us that opportunities come but once. That's not true. They come over and over again. Maybe sometimes people are blind to see the opportunities. So I look at life from there, And I ask myself, has it been 25 years? It has been. From that little Sunday morning, 5th of November 1988 in YMCA building, sitting on tables, it's a different story. Did it happen in a flash? No. It followed a pattern. Was God going to do what he was going to do? Yes. Could there have been a problem with God's blessing, supply, mercy, grace, provision, forgiveness, protection? No. Sometimes it's the continuity of man, the determination of man, it's the resilience of man. It's the fact that you keep the main thing the main thing. You decide not to be distracted by things that are unimportant. You decide not to change the minor issues to the major issues. You know where you're going to. Occasionally you stop, you backtrack, you check, you do your M&E, you monitor, you evaluate, but you keep going. Sometimes you make the mistake of thinking that if I turn to the left and I turn to the right and I see people clapping, I will move on. What happens when nobody claps for you? Because people are also running their own life. They also want to sit in first class, in business class. They want to be celebrated. They want to be there. And so you keep going and you keep going. And like anything in life, it's like farming or clearing a forest. Your head is down and you are hoeing. Maybe you are singing a tune, humming, so you lift up your head, you drink some water, you're going. When you finish and you turn around, you say, wow, I have cleared this much ground. But if every time you hit the hole, you look at the back, you hit the hole, you look at the back, and you ask people, am I doing well? Clap for me. You won't get anywhere. People will even distract you. One of my favorite characters in the Bible is a man called Nehemiah. He had all kinds of distractions coming his way, lies and many things, letters written, and he made a statement in Nehemiah chapter 6, verse 4. And I want to end around that. He said, I am doing a great work. I cannot come down. Because folks, you can't walk forwards and look backwards. It's not possible. You can't do it. So when you know that you have an agenda, especially when you know God has gifted you and blessed you to do something, we must move forward. We must do this nationally. We must do it continentally. You must do it as an organization, as a family, as an individual. You must have a life plan. You must have a goal plan. And you must do all you can within your power. Don't blame the environment, blame the economy, blame everybody, because that weakens your resolve to do things. Tell yourself, even though the economy is like that, even though it's hot, even though things are like that, I will press through. And with that resolve, from my experience of 25 years, God comes your way with all kinds of help, all kinds of blessing, the ones you thought and the ones you never knew existed. And when you look back, you say, wow, 10 years, 15 years, 4 years, and for us in Abiding Word, 25 solid years. Ladies and gentlemen, we are grateful to this nation. We are grateful to everybody who has been a part of our story. Some people are alive in other countries, some are alive in this country, some have predeceased us. We are so grateful to everybody. But more importantly and most importantly, our gratitude is to God, who makes us breathe every morning and gives us every day as a gift to make something better with our life. So I want to cross over from economy to first class, where the temperature is controlled. I'm treated nicely. If I want to sleep, I'm given a pajamas. I am waking at a particular time, and I'm not just in a place where I'm given fish or chicken or meat or fish, and I sit in a crunched chair. The ball is in our court. By God's grace, maybe one day, 25 years from now, I will come back and say, guess what? It's been 50 years. Let's count our jubilees in God, and let's thank him for our goodness. And so join us November 7, 8, 9, 10 at our place there, 7 every evening. We have a great person coming, Alvin Slaughter is coming to the Gambia, and we'll have fun. Thank you all so much. God bless you. Move from economy by choice to first class. You'll never regret it. God bless you and have a good evening.